welcome into another great episode of the Dynasty Brews podcast. We are live on YouTube and Twitter right now, and we are joined by the great Stephen Morrison. How's it going, Stephen?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing fantastic, my man. Doing fantastic. And once again, it is Double J in the house. And the man below in the darkness. What are you doing in the darkness over there, bud?
I was trying to find a better spot to record since I got my hole in the wall, but I'll just stick with it. Plus, I don't like the lights. I'm the vampire, so.
Well, way to play off of that one. Well, guys, it's another great episode, and we're glad that Steven's in the house because it is time to talk about the NFC motherfucking West. The best division in football. The best team in football plays in this division.
The Rams, yes.
It is not the LA Rams. They can suck it hard. No, but Super Bowl champions, NFC contenders that should have been the Super Bowl champions. It was all there. It was obviously the best division in football because they're the only ones that had three teams in the playoffs. So what are you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, one of them had a dude that looked like he was 2 foot tall, though.
Well, great segue because they just paid that 2 foot tall midget.
You know, I am a huge fan of Kyler Murray, but that contract, you don't want to talk about an abomination of a contract. You're like throwing your chips all in on pocket fours in Texas Hold'em here.
Wow, that is majorly shitting on a good quarterback over there.
We'll go pocket nines. Listen, man, Kyler Murray's good. You know, through the first 9 weeks of last season, he looked decent. He was like one of the top rated quarterbacks in the league. However, each of the last seasons he's played, he hasn't done anything that's warranted this type of payday, in my opinion. And also, if you look at the splits with and without DeAndre Hopkins, it's a complete garbage can. I mean, I understand that his best receiver was Christian Kirk, but don't tell Jacksonville that because that's not an excuse over there. So to me, it's just if you look at the splits with and without Deshaun Watson, he averages over 2 touchdowns a game with Hopkins, and without Hopkins, it's barely a touch. It's slightly over 1 touchdown a game.
So do you have the splits offhand of the Oklahoma season with Marquise Brown? Can we get that on?
I don't.
Because I'd love to hear that one.
I don't condone terrible conferences that shouldn't even be alive anymore. That's, as you know, I'm biased. I hate the Big 12.
You do. Yeah. You think that they don't play defense, so and all their offensive players
ever since this team left, they've gone downhill with Nebraska.
Well, guys, we're just gonna get right into it. Kyler Murray got his big ass deal, and I'm, for fantasy football, that gives me all the reassurance that Justin's take of him going to play baseball is officially over. So I'm looking at this. What was that?
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss. I love it.
You live and die. You live by the Kyler, or you die by the Kyler. It's fine. Just wait till next year when nothing happens, but I'll talk about it again.
They should really put in the clause you can never pick up another baseball bat or mitt ever again. like just make sure that this whole baseball thing is just over. Just tell the Oakland A's you're done. But anyways, he gets $230 million. And I don't know about you guys, that gives me 100% reassurance that my first round pick this year in Kyler Murray in multiple leagues, including some charity ball leagues, is going to be all right. And I'm going to be cashing in on maybe a title in those leagues because I think Kyler Murray is going to go ape shit. I'm thinking he's going to go ape shit with Marquise Brown. And then I think when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, he's just going to go absolutely crazy having 2 of those weapons there.
I mean, you want to talk about like the best value in these best ball drafts or even in dynasty, since that's what our bread and butter is. Like Hopkins in the 10th is like a slap in the face. The players he's going around is just like, I don't know what you're betting on, but give me Hopkins every day because I've gotten him every time in the 10th round. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, Hopkins in the 10th round is a steal. I feel like a lot of people are starting to catch on to Hopkins sliding and not letting him slide anymore, but it was probably about like a couple weeks ago. Definitely Hopkins was sliding pretty hard, and especially in some underdog, best ball drafts where you can win $1 million, you see DeAndre Hopkins, a wide receiver 1, posing as a wide receiver 3 in the 10th round. You're going, okay, so I just got to wait out 6 games. I'll do that
So
all
you're
day
telling
long.
me you're telling me that in rounds 6, 7, and 8 I could go Godwin, Hopkins, Michael Thomas, like.
Oof, Michael Thomas. That's a little too much built-in risk there.
He's coming back. He is coming back. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 because he's on all my teams.
No, not all.
He has to be.
Not all.
Okay, almost all of them.
You've sold them to me. You've sold me your. You've mitigated your risk to me, and I'm praying.
I think one league that I finished second in.
Let's not talk about that. We don't talk about Bruno or that league. I'll be good this season.
That's a good league.
Be good this season. But anyways, sorry. Back to.
While you guys were rambling on about leagues past, I was looking up where DeAndre Hopkins is going in ECR right now because I didn't want to go into Dynasty. I know we're a Dynasty show, but realistically, let's face it, DeAndre Hopkins has maybe like a 1-2 year type of like vision.
I actually disagree with that. I actually think he could do very similarly. It's fitting he's on the Cardinals. I think he still has another 3 or 4 year window once they move him over to the slot. I think he still has 3 or 4 more good years in him. He's a dominant receiver, and I don't think he relies heavily too much on his speed either. It's the speed guys like Tyreek Hill that I really like to sell. But DeAndre Hopkins is a very well complete receiver, and I think he could easily move to the slot and still have 3 or 4 more good years. But sorry.
Oh no, you're all good. I was more or less talking about like a buildup of injuries. I mean, he's had them in the past, and he's just getting older. But here's where he's going right now. He's going ECR 36, and he's surrounded right now. The 2 in front are Amon-Ra St. Brown and Adam Thielen. The 2 in the back are Tyler Lockett and Brandon Ayuk. Now, I can see 3 of those guys being okay picks ahead of him. But realistically, if you're looking at that and you're saying it's just 6 games, so say you've built out your roster, you've got your 2 running backs, you've got your 3 wide receivers, maybe you've got your quarterback and you're waiting on a tight end. I'm going to pass on that tight end, and I'm just going to say, fuck it. I'm going to load up on my bench, and I'm going to put DeAndre Hopkins on my bench. Because
Give me Ingram. Take Hopkins, and then give me Ingram later on in the rounds. And there you go. Ingram is like this year's Waller. Sorry, but we're staying on the Cardinals.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, with Ingram, like, why not just push him back even further? Ingram, Everett, in many ways.
Henry.
No,
Lots of guys.
I mean, Hunter Henry is. I like Hunter Henry. But, you can just push him all the way to the back, and I'll still take him in, like, the 15th round or wherever the hell he falls to.
That's funny. The one guy that I'd love to talk about, I agree with you, Hopkins. He's a value where he's going. One guy that we're sitting here in July. I've annoyed everyone I've talked to about this, but I don't think there's a draft I've done this season that I don't have Darrell Williams. I just think that when you look at the splits, James Conner has yet to finish the season, has yet to finish a full season with a workload. And you want to talk about RB1 upside when you're drafting players. I just think Darrell Williams is the biggest value here because he's competing with Eno Benjamin, who I just have no faith in. Like, Darrell Williams, I think, is going to be a pass catcher and unlock some upside should James Conner not stay healthy, which we've seen far too often.
Yeah, I mean, last year Darrell Williams had 63% of the goal line carries for the Chiefs, and he wasn't even their day one starter. That was supposed to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So obviously that showed you where they had their faith in when it was, between the 5 and the goal line, because they They went after Darrell Williams to obviously supplement, like you said, James Conner possibly having an injury. That brings up another topic. James Conner. This is a guy who everybody missed out on last year, and nobody wants to miss out on this year. How are you guys feeling about him? Because to be honest with you, I look at this and I see Austin Eckler written all over it in the sense that I want no part of this regression.
So last year I was all in on James Conner, and I got made fun of quite a bit. In this season, I've completely gone the opposite way, and I'm going to now focus on Darrell Williams for reasons we just mentioned. James Conner's kind of a trap.
Darrell Williams, RB1. You heard it here first. RB1. I'm gonna cut. This is gonna be our first cut take.
I'm telling you, Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams will give you RB1 weeks, and when he's out, this offense has enough firepower. He's going to have open running room. But James Conner is a trap because James Conner cannot stay healthy. There's going to be like 4 or 5 weeks, where James Conner is going to be the focal point, and his body just can't do it. I mean, he's a very good running back when he plays, but he just can't take the pounding. So at worst, I mean, what's the ECR on Darrell Williams? Because at worst, here's the worst case scenario is that James Conner plays the full season, but he splits work with Darrell Williams. So I'd rather just take Darrell Williams where the worst case scenario is he's splitting with James Conner, as opposed to taking James Conner at the top where the best case scenario is he plays every snap and plays for a full season, which has never happened.
Well, your ideal situation is probably, kind of along the lines of what LeGarrette Blount played for the Patriots for so long, or even what Michael Turner played for the old school Falcons when he was just garnering touchdowns. Almost, I'm going to keep on naming these big ass goal line backs, Lendell White-ish, where you would have somebody
pass catchers though. I mean, this dude's been doing it as a pass catcher the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that just adds to upside. I mean, what I'm trying to get at is what you're really hoping for is maybe a 60-40 split where more of the 40 end on his side leads to maybe about half the goal line carries, and he winds up with 8 to 10 touchdowns. And
I honestly don't care about the splits early on. I'm drafting him for when James Conner gets hurt, not if James Conner gets hurt. And I don't mean to be a mean person about that. It's just history is on your side. You just got to go with the numbers, and you just don't know if James Conner's injury is going to be 2 to 3 weeks or could it be the 6 to 8 weeks. It's varied throughout the times, but he just can't handle the workload. So it's either your worst case scenario is you do get that 40 split, or the best case scenario is James Conner has an injury right at the peak time when you're in your playoff windows and he gets you to the playoffs. And then once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
When you're looking at running backs too, though, I mean, injury always plays a factor in their season long, and they're all going to get hurt. I guess it just depends on how many games they miss. If he plays 12 games, you count that as a win or a loss.
Connor, that's a win to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, if Zeke plays 12 games, is that a win or a loss? That might be a loss because you want him for 16 or 17 because his points per game isn't that great.
I guess that would just come into like the factor of what games is he playing and what games is he missing, right?
Right. Missing week 1 or 2, not a huge deal. Missing weeks 15 and 16 in championship run, it does make a difference. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to throw this to you, Steven, because we've been talking a lot. Darrell Williams, Donta Foreman, Khalil Mack, Mark Ingram. Out of those 4 guys that could have touches this year, which one would you feel safest drafting?
Yeah, I think I think Justin's point with Williams is good, and we saw it with the Chiefs last year. Is the Cardinals' offense a big downgrade from the Chiefs? I wouldn't say so. So I think he's proven when he gets the chance, he can be good. I do like Khalil Herbert as well. I mean, he really shined when he was given a chance last year, and I think that both of those guys I'd be willing to take bets on. I don't know that the other 2 have great prospects, but I mean, there's always something to drafting a backup running back is when they get their chance, you get to throw them in, and they're going to do well.
Right, right.
Once they get their chance, all bets are off. I mean, look out. That's how Kamara took over, and
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we're not. I mean, on paper, we're all. I don't think any of us are sitting here and telling anyone that Darrell Williams is a better running back than James Conner. We're just saying
RB1 season.
we're just making the argument that highly doubtful that Conner plays more than 10 games. I would say.
Yeah, and like Steven said, like it's almost highly doubtful nowadays with the games, with there being more games and an 18th one even looming, that any running back really makes it to a full season anymore. So all these guys become, a rational option. And as the evolution of the handcuffing strategy becomes a thing, people start to look into, okay, well, I didn't get James Conner, but like Justin said, James Conner hasn't finished the season in, I don't think, ever. So why don't I just go get Darrell Williams and just wait for that eventual kind of like downfall and pick up the slack on those weeks. Hopefully it's beneficial.
I think the strategy that I've developed over the last couple of years, and we'll call it a strategy, it's more so a learning curve. I think your best bet is to anchor one pass catching running back at the top of your drafts, a la, Christian McCaffrey, who got hurt, unfortunately, DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook, someone that's your pass catching back. They tend to last longer because they're not getting hammered out of the backfield. And then you just take like 6 or 7 of these backup running backs and you try and just play the lottery almost, because there's not only that, you're also going to look for the guys week 1 who start that you had no expectation of starting. Philip Lindsay, we've talked about these guys before. James Robinson. There's a guy every year, Tyler Beatty, that this just happens to.
Well, Tyler Beatty, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. Let's keep on naming names in
Justice Hill
backfield.
Would you say that there's a trend with certain coaches when a running back goes down that they have one guy that usually fills in that role versus trying to committee what they do? So that, I guess I haven't ever looked into it, but I mean, like if Chubb goes down, does Kareem Hunt fill into that, or do they still split, right?
Well, they split now because they have Dearness Johnson, but when Chubb got hurt 2 years ago, it was all Kareem Hunt because that's what they had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that coaches try and fill, like, you see a lot of coaches trying to do the strategy of filling a spot for, they bring in somebody who can take on the workload. So it's kind of like, Tariq Cohen at some point was the number 2 last year for the Bears, but Khalil Herbert definitely, even before the injury, could handle more of a workload, was more of a durable back to handle the main workload. I would also, take a look into stuff like, how does, the 49ers thing go? Because they're always, touted as a committee backfield, but it always seems to be Jeff Wilson after, an injury, whether it was Raheem Mostert, whether it was Elijah Mitchell, it was always Jeff Wilson afterwards. And that's because he fits the scheme a little bit better as the workload back.
And the thing I always look at when it comes down to injuries is I always try and make, PFF's a great tool. And I think the best thing that the best advice I'd give is I'm always going to take the bet on the guy that can pass protect. Because if you can pass protect, you're going to get on the field a lot more, which is going to get you more opportunities.
That's a good way to think about it. But let's move on. The Cardinals, but let's move to a different position. Marquise Brown. A lot of people I've been seeing are starting to draft Marquise Brown as even their number 1 wide receiver. Are you guys bold enough to draft Marquise Brown, who a couple years ago was thought of as a decent wide receiver 2, but a prime spot for a wide receiver 3? He makes the change now. He had a hell of a season last year, had over 150 targets, 111 receptions, overall pretty damn good receiver. Kind of switched it up from, being a mainstay as a deep threat and became more of a, diverse receiver in that Ravens offense. But obviously this air raid offense comes into play now. Do you think that he has a good chance to break out in Arizona? And do you think he has a good chance to sustain a breakout if DeAndre Hopkins comes back full strength?
So inside of standard leagues, he's finished inside the top 36, two out of the last 3 seasons. highest finish in PPR was his rookie season at 22, or last year at 22. I am bold enough to do that. I do believe that he has the bromance with Kyler Murray, and I was actually in on him last year. I think Hollywood Brown is very underappreciated, and I think he's going to fit this scheme a heck of a lot better than being on a team with the least amount of pass attempts in the NFL. I think it's more of a fact that he hasn't gotten the targets because he's in a low volume offense, and Lamar Jackson makes his bread and butter running the ball as opposed to throwing the ball.
Does Kyler Murray make his bread and butter running the ball or throwing the ball?
Kyler Murray averages 5.5 yards a rush, but does not like to run the ball because he doesn't want to get hit.
Yeah. How tall is he?
2 foot.
Okay. Just checking again.
If he finds me, he's going to hurt me. But
he gives the Smurfs a chance to play. He every Smurf in Smurfville thinks they can play because of Kyler Murray.
All Arizona fans are shutting us off today, but
yeah, I think your arguments have kind of swayed me towards Hollywood. I don't think having Hopkins come back will hurt him. I think that'll actually open up the field for him to get deeper more because it's going to have to. They're not going to be able to roll coverage his way as much. And I think they can play on each other, and there's so many weapons in that offense. I just don't think that you can just sit on one guy and really take him away because then the other guy's just going to beat you. So I think that's probably good. I think finishing between wide receiver 18 and 24 or something is probably a good range for him.
Yeah, it's just hard to take him number one as your number one receiver. If you did that, I'm hopeful that you took like a Christian McCaffrey in the first round or like a Jonathan Taylor. The thing is, I think he does have a wide range of outcomes, but I think that all joking aside, as much as I made fun of Kyler Murray early on, this is going to be.
Hey, Justin, we got a heckler in the building.
I saw. I think I like to look at the stats, guys. So give me a break here. But hey, all things aside, as much as I've joked with Kyler Murray, I think that this has to be his best season. He's got Marquise Brown, who I think you could float around as your number one receiver in the NFL. That's what the Ravens just did the last couple of years. You got Hopkins coming back. This has been the best receiving core Kyler Murray's had and Arizona has had. So this is like put up or shut up time in Arizona. There's no more excuses. You have Zach Ertz, who's the legitimate tight end. You've got James Conner. I think this has to be Arizona's best chance to win the division and make a playoff run. Because if not, I know that Cliff and Keim got extensions, but I think that if they don't make the playoffs, they got to go. It's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Cliff is definitely fighting for a job at this point. He just made the playoffs, but I mean, the reality of this game is just, what are you doing for me now? Not what have you done for me in the past? So, 100%. And Kyler King Smurf officially has to pay off now because he has a big contract. Let's move on to the Seahawks. Big shakeup. Russell Wilson officially out of town. I am so damn happy. Thank you. Unfortunately, we got to play him one more time, but then it'll be every 4 years after that. They bring in Drew Lock and Noah Fant from that trade. Rashad Penny gets retained. God damn, this is just a team that I want very little a part of. I think I maybe want DK Metcalf, but I don't know if that's just because I want the old DK Metcalf. I want the idea of DK Metcalf, or if I want the actual player. Guys, talk to me. Is anybody on this team worth rostering at their current price?
I like Rashad Penny. I think that this team, the way they built through the draft, adding tackles and offensive linemen and Kenneth Walker even, they're going to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball some more. I can't imagine either of these two guys are going to go into the season as their starting quarterback, but they might. I mean, that's the way it sits right now. I'd be hard pressed to believe that that's who they're going to go with, but Drew Lock might be the guy that they come in and build a run game around, and they say, hey, chuck it down the field a few times a game, just keep the defenses honest. You got the targets to do that. I like Kenneth Walker. I mean, I think they're a 1-2 punch, and I don't know who the lead guy is going to end up being, but Penny showed last year when he's healthy, he's a force. And I think they just made improvements on their offensive line. And I think Penny is probably a value to me, but he does have quite a laundry list of injuries as well. So there is risk there.
So it's been interesting that you bring up Penny, because I think Penny is he's a good value. He's the best bang for your buck. My issue is that, you take, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but you probably have. On a lot of fantasy drafts, Walker is getting taken a couple rounds ahead of where Penny's getting taken. And it just doesn't make sense for the guy who's legitimately right now the incumbent running back starter over the guy who is, I don't know. He just got drafted. So it just, for me, it looks like maybe we're trying to push Kenneth Walker in this draft too much, and we're not being realistic about what the Seahawks are going to do. I think Rashad Penny definitely has the talent to carry this team. He's, they increased the chances the offensive line is going to be a little bit better this year, adding Cross and adding Lucas. But it seems like a little bit of a mystery that Penny is going in like sometimes even the 10th round, while Walker is leaving the board around like the 7th, 8th.
I think it's a fool's errand to take any of these running backs, guys. The guy to get here, as you mentioned, is really DK Metcalf. Finished 14 last year in standard PPR leagues. Finished top 12 in a standard league. Russ missed a lot of time, and I'm getting Kansas City 2011 vibes from this team. Dwayne Bowe having like 6 or 7 touchdowns while just the team being absolutely terrible every week, and they're still just getting a lot of garbage time points. Blake Bortles about in Jacksonville when he used to do that. That's the kind of vibe I'm going to get from this team. So I actually don't mind owning Lockett or Metcalf this season. I think they're going to be struggling I think they're going to struggle early on in games, and then they're going to be having the musical chairs at quarterback, and then, 1 week Drew Lock's going to score like 30 points, and they're going to lose by a couple scores, even though they had no business ever even being close in the game. So I just think they're going to be playing from behind all season, and when you're playing from behind, that tells me that is nothing to do. That is not a recipe that's successful for running backs.
So what you're telling me is that Geno Smith is going to have a Jalen Hurts-esque season because he's going to be playing from behind all the time, and his fourth quarter stats are going to elevate him to QB1 level. You heard it here. Geno Smith is going to be the guy. No, I'm just kidding. I think that
for 6 games, the 6 games he plays,
I mean, come on, let's face it. Do we really think Drew Lock is better than Geno Smith? I mean, who do you trust that football with?
I'm actually surprised that they haven't that they haven't done something drastic and just gone and signed or made a trade offer to Baltimore for their backup quarterback. The fact that they're rolling with Drew Lock and Geno Smith tells me that they are shooting for a top pick next year. I want none of these guys. I want the kicker, like Madden style. I'll put the kicker in.
They're in a tough division is the hard thing. It's I want to say they're going to surprise, but they're the 4th best team in the division, and there's not a lot of refuting to that, I don't think.
Correction, they're the 5th best team in the division.
Sorry.
The fans are better.
Yeah. Well, they kind of stacked the deck with the 12th man. But but here's the thing. I got one more question for you guys. Is any receiver outside of DK Metcalf worth rostering? Receiver / tight end. So I'm adding Noah Fant, Tyler Lockett. Is anybody out of that group worth a roster spot?
It's all about cost. And yes, I'm okay drafting these guys late. I mean, where is Lockett going? Because to me, I'd rather, I don't know, it depends on the league you're in. But I'd rather just take the shot on Lockett. And if week 1, I mean, how many points do you really need to beat the draft capital you invested? I mean, if Lockett averages 10 points a game, it's not bad. Based on his draft capital, I bet you he's going 9th, 10th round, maybe.
Give me a quick second. I will look it up.
I don't know what Noah Fant's going to be. I'm sure that he was excited to get traded, and then he saw that Drew Lock was going to be his quarterback, and I don't know. But Lockins, he's shown that with a possession receiver, he'll chuck the ball up and give the guy a chance. So, I mean, I think that would lean me towards DK. I mean, but Tyler Lockett's been able to get open down the field and make things happen. I mean, I think Locke is the better deep ball thrower of the two, and I think that really might factor into who they end up going with here, as is who they want to run this offense.
I'm going to go as far as to say that the starting quarterback week 1's not on this roster.
I would say that's probably 50-50 chance.
Come on,
So
Jordan
he's in the division, but he's not on the roster. Is that what you're saying?
A little Jimmy G.
Don't think that they want to trade in division. I think the Falcons have the edge on that.
I don't think the 49ers want to trade in division, but I think the 49ers, it'll be out of their hands in a couple weeks when they decide to just release him. Lockett is
wait till
37.
GBG's starting over 30. He's what?
37.
Like wide receiver 37?
Yeah, wide receiver 37.
All right.
What do you think he was 37 overall?
I was gonna like shit the bed and be like, all right, I take back everything I said.
He was like, it's a wrap. I done shit myself. But yeah, no, he was in that conversation with Hopkins that I put out. It was Lockett.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
Brandon
give
Ayuk
me Hopkins. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
if
yeah.
Hopkins if he gets sniped, then yeah, I'll. When you get to that range, there's not a lot of proven talent, and they weren't awful with Geno Smith.
They were.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
that's
gotta
the
make
thing.
sure IK and Pauly's nowhere around this season.
Well, hopefully DK Metcalf can return for your teams this year, because otherwise, I think the Seahawks are pretty much like the Browns were for the last 5 to 10 years, just absolutely terrible for your teams.
Were there trade rumors on DK Metcalf coming in? Like, was that last season?
He wants to get paid.
Yeah,
And rightfully so. I mean, the guy's a fucking animal, and he's
smart.
on a weak ass team.
He understands that. Okay, pay me for what I've done recently, because there's no way in hell I'm doing that this season, unless Justin is correct, and he just puts up massive numbers because they suck all season, which is a possibility.
I mean, if there's anybody to do it, it's him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could have an Allen Robinson type season with the Bortles, those fourth quarter comebacks.
Oh gosh, this is like the worst team in the league. Fans are the worst.
I mean, this team right here is the epitome of success. I mean, I know a couple years that they took out this team called the Buffalo Bills when they had their best chances to win a Super Bowl. Oh yeah, okay.
This team took out the Bills. The Bills have been taking themselves out for the last 17 of the last 20 years.
Oh, constantly the third best team in New York.
They're the only team in New York, Bucko. They're the only team in New York. You put some respect on that name.
They're still the third best team there.
So the question, where do you guys have Trey Lance? Because this is the question that every fantasy analyst wants to be right on. They either want to say you're an idiot, Trey Lance sucks, or they want to say, no, Trey Lance is the next coming of Patrick Mahomes. You're the idiot.
So, Steve, you want to go first?
No, I'll follow.
All right. I mean, listen, we're a Dynasty show. I think it's absolutely ludicrous where he's going in Dynasty. Now, the caveat, as I draft these best ball teams, his cost isn't that bad. It's right around QB 12, if I'm not mistaken. And when you're picking down there, you got to take the upside of the guy here, because it's not going to cost you much. It's like the 9th, 10th round. It's when you get in super flex dynasty leagues where you have to spend a top 3 pick that you're kind of just like, there's no way you're doing it, right? I mean, if you miss on Trey Lance in a standard league, it's not going to cost you that much because you can still you can still find your way to success with a Carson Wentz or a Zach Wilson, I think. So at cost today for a best ball league I'm in, we're a dynasty show, and in dynasty I'm out until I see more. I don't want a sharpshooter position when there's still plenty of talent available that I know of.
So I got a question for you. Are you going to take the bold strategy of taking 2 unproven quarterbacks and hoping that they both boom?
Talking about Zach Wilson and Trey Lance?
Yeah. Are you comfortable with that strategy?
I mean, in all honesty, the strategy I've been using is Trey Lance and Deshaun Watson. So yes.
Oh my man, that's what's up.
You're not first, you're last.
You're taking upside. I mean, listen, there's plenty of times where I've done it, and I have like Carson Wentz is usually my safety net, but like if you're going for upside, you have the possibility of getting 2 top 5 guys. And I think Watson's suspension is going to be in the 4 to 6 range. And based off rushing numbers alone, he's going to get you there inside the top 12. It's just a matter of, is he going to start or is Jimmy Garoppolo starting? I've accepted the fact that I think Jimmy G is getting traded. I don't know how good Lance is as a pro quarterback, but he's going to run. So
he's going to be the guy. I don't think they can go back to Jimmy G. I think the fan base is just ready to move on. He got him close and couldn't quite do it. And Lance is that guy that takes over and just takes you over the top.
I don't know about that yet.
We don't know about that yet, but he has higher upside than Jimmy has. Jimmy's the nice guy that's not going to turn the ball over, let your defense win games, let the run game do its thing. Trey Lance is that, wow, like, holy crap, look at this guy. Wow, did you see that throw? Then Jimmy's not doing that.
To be fair, Jimmy is a better poster boy for the team, though. You got to take that into account.
He's a great poster boy for Subway, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'll let the fans say that. But I mean, Lance, watching him, I wanted to rank him QB1 when he came out just because of his raw talent. But then you realize now he's sat on the bench for 2 years, and we still don't really have any idea of what he is. But the game he did play last year, he was very fantasy relevant. So small sample size. But
I think he played 2 games, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think he came in the half of one. Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
Seattle.
Okay. And
he plays Seattle, Arizona, and Houston.
Bottom line, here's where I'm at with him, especially in like a best ball league, is like he's gonna get you probably 14 points, but he could absolutely get you like a Josh Allen 30 burger. Like it really just depends on where he's at as a passer. That's the secret sauce there is the passing.
Yeah. So I think it'll depend if he can utilize Ayuk. I think if he grows as a receiver and you have Debo that can stay healthy for most of the season, and maybe this Danny Gray ends up being a breakout guy that nobody ever talks about and knows because he was a small school SMU type of guy. Mm-hmm. He's got George Kittle. I mean, they're going to have a run game. He could be the goal line back. That's something that's very fantasy relevant. Just with that zone scheme that they run there's so much that he can do that opens up the offense to be so much better than what Jimmy was able to do. And there's a tantalizing upside, but the floor is also he could completely bust. And that's realistic. It's just, if it's me, I'm going with that upside and I want him. And that's how I play, because I think you risk it for the biscuit.
Where are you at, Rory? You're the
I mean, yeah, exactly. In my own mind. For Trey Lance, listen, Steven, you hit it right on the head. Jimmy Garoppolo can only get you so far in this league. And when he got into the playoffs, it was like you got the worst of Jimmy every single time out. Like
he was injured. He was injured.
For 2 playoff runs? No.
The other one was the Super Bowl. But yeah, all right.
For 2 playoff runs? No. Actually, the Super Bowl was the only game he played well, and he still fucked it up.
Well, he actually cost them the game.
Yeah, but like I said, it was the only game he played well because the Chiefs, weirdly enough, were able to shut down Raheem Mostert after his historic game, which go figure, right? You have your best game of your life, and the next game is fucking terrible. Just ask everybody who's ever bowled to 300. Ask them what their score was after that game. But, so I think that Trey Lance has the upside of a runner. And I like to pose the Trey Lance cases. You can get this year's Jalen Hurts probably at the floor, and then at your very ceiling, you can get somewhere in between Josh Allen and Justin Herbert because he's got a good arm. Yeah, Cam Newton too. Yeah.
Oh, you mean like
Cam Newton's rookie year?
You mean all right, old school? All right, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm talking or MVP year. Like that's how I see his build and his running style. He's a tank. He's not a small runner. He's a tank that can take on a linebacker. Maybe not what the coaches want to see or do, but you get him down towards the goal line, he puts his shoulder down, he can move a 260-pound guy back. Like I just think that's dangerous, and I want to see it. I'll probably be a 49ers fan this year watching it.
I'm sorry. Now I have to do it.
There you go. There you go. So I like what you're saying, Steve. I just did not see that on tape. I saw somebody that was very Bambi-esque when he was out there running. He just did not kind of know what to do. He ran. Did it look pretty? No. Did it look like a dual threat running back? Not really. I hope he kind of shores that up this year. Reports have that he's been doing really good in camp. I mean, obviously that was just mini camp, but like you said, Brandon Ayuk has to come along. Debo has to come back. Kittle has to be, well, first off, they have to sort out the line because they don't need Kittle blocking as much as he does.
I think Kittle's
an open field. Yeah, go ahead.
Where are you at on Kittle? I think Kittle's like the biggest value among tight ends right now. Going around the 6th round. People are worried about the injury history. I think that tight end is typically a blanket for new quarterbacks. So like everyone's going to be looking at Debo, and I love Debo, but like give me Kittle all day. Like get Kittle in the 5th and then follow him up with like an Ingram or even like sometimes I've gone Kittle and then I've taken Goddard 2 rounds later in a best ball league.
Does a future first-round pick get Kittle on your team, or is it still worth more than that?
Tight end premium, I'm assuming. I wouldn't, but people probably would because they all care about that number next to their name.
Yeah. I don't know if I would go, anywhere in the first round just because Kittle's never had the touchdown numbers. He's never proven touchdown-wise to be like that great of a receiver. But I do agree with you. He is the best value in the top 5. And anybody who says TJ Hawkinson, go watch this guy play. He doesn't even stay on the field long enough to fucking.
I don't mind taking Hawk because he's going in the 9th round, but you have.
Where are you getting him in the 9th round? Because I can't seem to get him past the 7th round. Like people just snag him up.
DraftKings. It's like.
Wow, I'm gonna get on DraftKings then. Holy shit!
Oh, it's crazy when you compare the players going where they are. Like you still have Godwin going in like I think the 6th or 7th round, which is ridiculous to me.
See, here's the thing, and I'm gonna do a quick shout out. I just got Godwin my Warrior Ball in the 6th round.
People are worried about the injury, but like the pup's only 4 games. Stop worrying about it.
And they're already talking about him not even making the pup, not even.
I know, but like the worst case is 4 games, and you're getting a wide receiver 1 in the 6th round.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't mean to yell, but God, people just make this game way harder than it needs to be.
Well, that's why we podcast to our 0 people watching right now, and to the 10 people who will be listening on Spreaker or Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts later on is because you're absolutely right. Chris Godwin in the 6th round is getting a first round or is getting a wide receiver 1 in the 6th round. And that's such a great value. When you look at the DeAndre Hopkins in the 10th round, the Godwins in the 6th, all that shit, you're just like, these are the moves that win you leagues.
Yeah.
That's it. These are the moves that win you leagues, ladies and gentlemen. Quick question for you guys. How do you guys have Debo going this year? I have him as a regression candidate this year.
Yeah, he's definitely going to
I think his pace was just too hot. Like he's gonna. Yeah. He can still be a wide receiver 1.
I
but
still
it won't
think
be
he's
as
a
high
1. I just don't think he's going to finish top 5. I mean,
yeah.
So do you think? Here's my question for you guys: do you think he's worth a round 1 or 2 pick? Because in single QB leagues, that's where he's going.
Single QB, yeah. I would still probably make the bet. I drafted him in the 3rd in a super flex, and I got Hopkins and Chris and whatever the Wilson in New York for him, so I had to take that deal. I like that deal a lot, but I would take him in round 2 in a 1 QB. I still think he has the upside, and he's going to win you weeks, and that's what the name of the game is. Everyone wants to point to consistency, like need to how consistent is he? How consistent is he? How is this? How is that? It's like at the end of the day, if you just draft dudes that can win you weeks, sometimes he's going to come in with like 5 or 6 points, and other times he's going to come in with like 30 or 40 and win you the week. And I think he has more of those than he has the clunkers that you normally would get. So I still think he's a top tier asset. But I would still entertain offers for him if I had him too.
And go ahead, Steve.
I think I would take Ayuk at price. I think the change in quarterback, I think Ayuk is due to boom, and I don't know that they're going to run Debo in the run game as much as they did last year because I don't think he was super happy about that. And I think that's what a big part that leads me to that regression. I mean, I think he'll have a couple touches here and there, but it won't be anything consistent like we saw.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think Brandon Ayuk is a great value right now. I did want to touch on the Debo point because I think that, Justin, you and Steve have great points. Steve saying it, obviously there's not going to be as nearly amount of run touches. Here's an interesting point for that. Take away his rushing yards and his rushing TDs last year, and I think you'd probably see him outside of the top 12 because 8 rushing TDs was absolutely freaking crazy for him. Then he had over 300 yards rushing as well. Not to say that his season was bad because he still had 1,400 yards through the air. And, when he had Trey Lance, they were winging it out to him. Shanahan has a great system as far as getting people open. And, when you see Deebo Samuel running down the field with that 4.48 speed and you see him going, oh, okay, throw it 20 yards downfield and then there's just open field for him. That opens my eyes and it goes, oh, okay, so he has that deep threat mentality. He could be a legit, I wouldn't say full-on burner, but he could take it to the house a couple times on the receiving end. I wonder if he makes it up there this year. And just for that reason, I don't think I want to delve into it because I don't want to dive into his value hoping that he makes it there.
I want to mention one thing though, and you guys can call me crazy, but we're all humans, right? So he doesn't want to run the ball anymore. That's what the rumor is, correct? Is that the rumor? Is he doesn't want to run anymore?
That's what he's trying to. He's trying to just be a pure receiver.
Okay, so just so we're clear, that's all fine and dandy, but I know damn well when push comes to shove, and you're in a 2-minute drill or you're in the 4th quarter down by 6, that motherfucker's going to do anything he can to win that team the football game, whether it's running or catching. So I'm not really concerned about the words that he says because at the end of the day, these guys are all competitors and they love getting paid, which I think he's going to get paid, by the way. I think once he gets paid, I don't think that's going to really be an issue. I think it's all going to come down to he wants to get paid, and then if he's paid, he does not mind doing that because he wants to help this team win football games like he did. He was their best player last year, and I don't think that's going to just disappear based on that. So
by far,
sorry.
No, you're 100% right. By far, he was the best player. And here's the thing: he was their goal line back too. So, you could always slot him into that role again and just take out the, 5 to 10 runs outside of the goal line. So,
And they could even do that
narrow
stupid
it
thing where
down.
they like instead of him getting a handoff, they do that stupid play where you like
Shovel
flick the
pass.
ball.
Pop it forward. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's technically not a runner anymore.
Manufactured touches. You gotta love them.
Yeah.
All right. Then we got to finish off with the Super Bowl champs. Obviously Allen Robinson comes in. I want to get you guys' take on Allen Robinson. But I also want to get you guys' take on Cooper Kupp. Do you think it's sustainable what he did last year? Matthew Stafford and him also are obviously had an amazing year, and it all started with them having breakfast every single morning. You think Allen Robinson starts to get on those breakfasts, makes it a trio, and has a redemption football season, has a redemption fantasy football season? But yeah, there's a lot of questions here that I want you guys to kind of like unpack. Cam Akers coming back, obviously he's someone. Justin obviously thinks it's Darrell Henderson season.
It is Darrell Henderson season.
He's a huge Cam Akers fan for everybody who's out there. And then there's the little things like Tyler Higbee and Van Jefferson. So yeah, just kind of give me what your thoughts are on this Rams offense going into 2022.
Yeah, Steve, sorry. Yeah, I think this whole team is a regression candidate. I'm not sure why we're so adamant that Cam Akers coming back from his injury means that he's good, because by all metrics and everything I've seen with my eyes tells me he's not the same player he was. He could still recover, that's fine, but I don't give you bonus points for coming back and sucking. No offense, but he was not good last year.
Well, how much of that was just the injury? I'm just going to throw that
that's
out
fine,
there.
But everyone, that's fine. But I'm sorry. If you come back and you suck, then why'd you come back? Like, don't come back.
Was it running or was it the offensive line? I thought the offensive line looked pretty bad.
If you watch the Super Bowl, Darrell Henderson was catching passes. Darrell Henderson looked like the better back. Like he had, I don't have the stats in front of me. I could pull them up, but the dude was averaging like 2 yards a carry. And that you could even toss out the Tampa Bay game, and it's still garbage statistics. He came back, and that's fine, good and dandy. But just because you came back doesn't mean you're any good. I mean,
so are you going to apply that same logic to Derrick Henry, because he came back and ran the ball 13 times or 20 times for 40 yards?
I am. I don't know why he came back. Absolutely,
that's a pretty typical Derrick Henry game. It's kind of funny with Henry because you'll watch him run into the line about 3 or 4 times in a row, and then all of a sudden he breaks an 80-yard run, and you're like, "Oh, okay, there's just fantasy points."
I think we talk. I think we both have concerns about Henry coming back from that leg injury, personally. But I just don't. If you come back from injury early, then you should be healthy. Like, you can't come back. You're not getting bonus points coming back from injury early and then not performing. Be like, well, he came back from injury early. It's like that. No, it's like turning in a report to your boss early ahead of schedule, and your boss is like, "This is terrible." Well, I turned it in early. It's like, but you gave me garbage. It doesn't do you any good. So I don't know. That's a long rant, but I just don't understand the Cam Akers love. I can't get into it. I don't understand why people are all adamant that he's good. The only guy that I still want is Cooper Cup of Coffee, and I don't think it's going to regress as much as people think, because I don't think Allen Robinson is that good.
I don't know about that. I think Allen Robinson will have a much better year than people are anticipating, because he's never played with a quarterback that's quite as good.
He could be like Robert Woods.
He could be like Robert Woods. He might be a little bit better talent-wise than Robert Woods. And Robert Woods was great at what he did. I mean, Robert Woods was a great blocker. I don't know what Allen Robinson's blocking is like, but that's part of the reason he was able to see the field so long.
Yeah, I just think that I think we saw that Matt Stafford has his dude, and Robert Woods had to literally show up one morning at breakfast and throw the stuff around and be like, "I need the ball. Give me the ball."
Yeah, I think Cooper Kupp is certainly going to be the guy, but I think Allen Robinson suits to be a red zone weapon for sure. Like, I think that's kind of his bread and butter down there. He's just bigger than other people, and I don't think that was Woods' game. I don't know that was Odell's game either. So and you've seen Stafford can win with those guys. I mean, he had Megatron for a lot of his career. And you see him, he'll chuck the ball up to somebody and say, you freaking go get it, or you're not going to get the ball.
Yeah. I will say, I think that's fine, but I think the guy that you want at cost is still Henderson. I'm going to go back to there because I can't let it go. I think I think Henderson's the pass catching back in this offense, and that alone has value to me.
Yeah, I think people are forgetting about Robinson because he got forgotten about in Chicago last year. I don't think it'd take much to even get him at this point. I kind of want to go out and try to trade for him right now talking about
You would think so, but he is being
I was gonna say I
in
think
DraftKings he's being drafted as like a top 12 receiver again.
Okay, so he's being drafted at a ceiling,
maybe not top
maybe
12,
an imaginary
but like,
ceiling.
No, he's one of the higher up wide receiver twos for sure. Like people want to get their hands on him.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like if
I gotta have it, but only for the right price.
Yeah.
So Darrell Henderson right now is going 41, right next to Alexander Madison and James Cook. So you're looking at, and actually, interesting enough, 43 is James Robinson. So you're looking at a value where people are looking him as a high-end handcuff. Obviously for a lot of good reasons. I mean, he's started in a lot of games in his career, but he's also had the same problem that Cam Akers has had. Injury problems. I mean, guy can't stay on the field. That's why they had Sony Michel last year.
He doesn't come back early.
Well, because he doesn't tear his Achilles.
That does help.
I mean, he comes back on his timeline because his timeline's usually like 2 to 4 weeks.
Damn straight. He turned in the project, but he got 100%.
So let me see. I'm just looking up Allen Robinson's value right now. Oh, boom. There it is. Allen Robinson, wide receiver 24 right now.
Okay, top end wide receiver 2. I think he could exceed that.
I feel like he's being drafted above 24 where I'm drafting, though.
He is being drafted above 24. But it's funny that he's right at that 24 mark.
Who's next to him? I bet you I would take any of the players next to him.
Either side of him?
Yeah, I bet you I would.
So 23, Marquise Brown. 25. This is an interesting one. I want to see you take this guy over him. Jerry Jeudy.
Okay, I lied. Yeah.
Oh, I love Jeudy.
Why? Why do you love Jeudy? Please enlighten me.
I don't know that I've seen a wide receiver come out in the last 5 or 6 years that I thought was better than Jeudy technically. Jamar Chase, I think, probably certainly is up there, and there's a conversation we had that Chase might have been better, but I just thought Jeudy was fantastic in college, the things he did, and I don't think I'm excited to see what he can do with an actual quarterback in Russell Wilson in a new offense.
Yeah. So, Steve, I like what your point is. He's a great route runner. I will say Devonta Smith is nearly untouchable when it comes to route running.
Give me Smith.
Yeah.
I don't listen. I have my college rankings. I do scout players. I think I enjoy the process, but I don't like to get beholden to my rankings, and I haven't seen Jerry Jeudy be the guy that I saw on college tapes. He just hasn't. He
hasn't been very healthy. Is my argument. He needs to be on the field. He needs to be in an offense that's conducive to producing fantasy points. And I mean, going from the opposite end of what the Seahawks did to going to what the Broncos got. I mean, I think Russell Wilson's the difference, and he can probably support 2 wide receiver 1s or at least a wide receiver 1 and a high-end wide receiver 2.
Who's 25? Because I bet you I would take 25 over both of those.
Jeudy was
Jeudy. That was Jeudy.
So who is 26? don't.
He's just like, give me somebody I like.
don't. And if it's Gabe
I'll
Davis,
eventually win this argument.
If 26 is Gabe Davis, then I'm gonna puke because I don't know what to do.
Oh man, he was one short. 27 is Gabe Davis. 26 is Darnell Mooney.
Oh my gosh, I don't like any of these names. Who's 29?
Love the Mooney.
Here's one that you're gonna like. 29 is Rashad Bateman. But I think you're gonna like this one a little bit more. 28, Elijah Moore.
Yes,
that's
the right answer. That one.
How did him and Garrett Wilson get along? I guess I don't know if you guys did the AFC East yet, but
I did it by myself, and it was not. It was the bottom tier.
That's why I forgot about it, huh?
Well, actually, no. The guest was fine, but the
Oh.
first half, the Bills, yeah.
He was doing a lot of computer work.
Yes.
Oh, you could barely see the ESPN site where he was reading from too. Very
At least you
perfect.
don't have glasses that reflect. It's a good thing.
I should have turned the lights off.
You're already in the dark.
Both in real life and on the screen.
Okay, other Edgar Allan Poe.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to close it out with an ad from our sponsor. That is right. We are aligned with SeatGeek. That's right. So if you're looking for a concert, sporting event, it's baseball season, football season is around the corner. If you're looking for any of your tickets, go right now, sign up on SeatGeek, make your purchase, and you get $20 off, courtesy of Dynasty Brews. All you got to do is put in the promo code Dynasty Brews. Like I said, I mean, this is the prime time, you know.
I mean, if you want to see Kyle Rudolph in person, use Dynasty Brews.
All right. Yeah, all right. I don't want you to put it in this one anymore. Kyle Rudolph, get out of here. Oh, I don't think any Tampa Bay fans even follow us, but they won't anymore. But yeah, anyways, if you're looking for your first tickets, you're looking for a deal, you're looking to save $20, go right now on a SeatGeek, type in the promo code Dynasty Brews, and save yourself some money. That'll help you with your first beer at that said venue, because now it is $20. All right, guys, it's been another great episode. Thank you once again, Stephen, for coming on. And as of now, we're done with the division. So now we're going to have to talk about something else. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Justin. Training camp. Training camp's kind of boring. Until somebody else gets injured or trades start to happen.
Oh, we'll make it work. We got you covered. We'll still be talking about the things no one else wants to talk about.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll be your one-stop source for dynasty strategy and everything else that's great in the dynasty sphere. So once again, guys,